The great crystal dome stretched high above Elena Vasquez like a frozen ocean wave. She stood alone in the center of the massive chamber, her small human form dwarfed by the towering seats that rose in circles around her. Each seat held one of the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy. Their eyes watched her with cold judgment. Elena wore her best diplomatic uniform, dark blue with gold trim that caught the strange light filtering through the crystal walls. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her weathered hands stayed calm at her sides even though her heart pounded like a war drum. She had served as Earth's ambassador for 20 years, but today felt different. Today felt final. The Nexari hegemon spoke first. Its voice came from a translator device since its real words sounded like grinding metal. The creature looked like a giant spider made of black stone with too many eyes that glowed red in its massive head. "Human delegate," the hegemon said, each word dropping like a stone into still water. "You stand accused of crimes against galactic order. How do you answer?" Elena lifted her chin. "I am here to listen to your charges, honored hegemon. But I reserve the right to speak truth in response." A ripple of what might have been laughter came from the Zephyrian council member. The floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with colors that hurt to look at directly. Its thoughts entered Elena's mind without permission, feeling cold and slimy. Truth? Such a human concept. So limited. The Korthik representative slammed one of its forearms against its chair. The lizard being's scales turned from green to angry. "Red. Enough philosophy. State the charges clearly." The hegemon's translator hummed for a moment. "The human species stands accused of aggressive expansion beyond approved boundaries. You have colonized 47 worlds without permission from this council. You have uplifted lesser species without authorization. Most serious of all, you have refused repeated orders to limit your population and territorial growth." Elena had expected these words, but hearing them still felt like a physical blow. 47 worlds. Millions of families who had built new lives under alien stars. Children born on distant planets who had never seen Earth's blue sky, all of it labeled as crime. "The territories we settled were uninhabited," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "We harmed no one. We displaced no one. We followed all established protocols for claiming empty worlds." Empty by whose definition? The Altarian council member spoke through crystalline chimes that somehow formed words. The tall, thin being looked like living glass, beautiful and sharp. "The galaxy has rules, human. Order must be maintained." "We have maintained order," Elena replied. "Our colonies are peaceful, our trade is fair. We have helped younger species develop technology and medicine. We have asked only for the right to exist and grow." The Volter ambassador's tentacles writhed in agitation. The squid-like being's skin flashed patterns that the translator rendered as words. "Growth, always growth with humans. Like a disease that spreads without limit. This is why you are dangerous." Elena felt anger rising in her chest but kept her voice steady. "Growth is life, expansion is exploration. These are not crimes in any law I know. They are crimes against stability," the hegemon said. "For 10,000 years this council has maintained peace through order. Each species has its place. Each world has its purpose. Boundaries exist for good reason. Whose boundaries?" Elena asked. "Who decided that humans should be limited to 12 worlds when the Nexari control over 300? Who determined that we cannot help other species when the Altarians have been doing exactly that for millennia?" Silence fell over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Elena could feel the weight of their stares, the pressure of their combined displeasure, but she had come too far to stop speaking now. "You fear us," she said simply. "Not because we are violent. Not because we are cruel. You fear us because we do not accept that things must always stay the same." The Zephyrian's mental voice cut through her thoughts again, sharper this time. "Fear? You mistake caution for fear, little mammal? We have seen species like yours before. They burn bright and fast, leaving only ashes." "Perhaps," Elena said. "But we have also seen species like yours, ancient, powerful, Comfortable, you have forgotten what it means to dream of something better. The Korthic representative hissed, its scales now pure crimson. Arrogance, typical human arrogance. You are infants compared to us. We have ruled this galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. And what have you done with all that time? Elena asked. You divide the galaxy into cages. You decide which species deserve advancement and which must remain primitive. You hoard knowledge and power while entire civilizations struggle in darkness? Is this the great wisdom of age? The Volter's patterns flashed angry red. You speak of things you do not understand. Order prevents chaos. Hierarchy prevents war. We have learned these lessons through pain and loss across eons, have you? Elena stepped forward, her voice growing stronger. Or have you simply become comfortable with a system that benefits those already in power? When did the wise protectors of the galaxy become its prison wardens? The hegemon's red eyes flared brighter. Enough, you prove our point with every word. Humans cannot accept their proper place. They question what should not be questioned. They upset balances that have lasted longer than your entire evolutionary history. Elena looked up at each of the 12 council members in turn. Beings of immense power and knowledge, rulers of star systems and civilizations beyond counting. In their alien faces she saw the same thing. Fear wrapped in pride, weakness hidden behind strength. You are right about one thing, she said. We do not accept our proper place if that place means abandoning our friends to suffering we could. Ease. We do not accept boundaries drawn by those who never asked our permission. We do not accept that the galaxy must remain forever frozen in patterns decided by others. The chamber erupted in sounds, hisses from the Korthak, chiming discord. From the Altarian? Mental screams from the Zephyrion that made Elena's head throb. Other sounds from species whose names she had memorized, but whose cultures remained mysterious after decades of diplomacy. The hegemon's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Silence. The noise died instantly. The council has heard enough. Human ambassador, your species has been tried and found guilty of crimes against galactic order. The sentence is exile. Elena's heart stopped for a moment, then began beating so hard she thought it might burst. Exile. She had feared this outcome, but hoped against hope it would not come to pass. Exile to where? She asked, though she already suspected the answer. Beyond. The Galactic Rim, the hegemon said with what sounded like satisfaction. To the void between. Your species has 30 standard years to evacuate all claimed territories and remove yourselves from civilized space. The void between. Elena had studied the old charts and reports. A region of space where stars were sparse and strange energies made travel dangerous. Ships that ventured too far into the void sometimes never returned. Others came back with crews driven mad by things they claimed to have seen. The void between is barely habitable, Elena said. You are not offering exile. You are ordering execution by slow starvation. We are offering survival to those wise. Enough to accept their limitations, the Altarian said through its crystal chimes. The void is harsh, but life is possible for those who adapt. You will have 30 years to prepare, the Volter added, its patterns now a cold blue. Time. To develop the technologies you will need. Time to say your farewells to the galaxy of civilized species. Elena straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin higher. When she spoke, her voice carried a quality that made several council members lean forward in their seats. You mistake mercy for weakness, she said. You mistake retreat for surrender. You believe that sending us into darkness will make us disappear like a bad dream. She turned slowly, meeting the gaze of each council member. But humans do not simply disappear. We do not quietly accept defeat. We adapt, we learn, we remember. The hegemon's red eyes dimmed slightly. Are you threatening this council? I am making a promise, Elena said. You are sending us away because you fear what we might become. If we stayed, but exile will not stop our growth. Isolation will not limit our dreams. You may drive us into the void, but you cannot control what we do there. She paused, letting her words sink in. History will remember this day, but not as the day you solved the human problem. History will remember this as the day you created, something far beyond your power to control. The Zephyrian's mental voice was quieter now, uncertain. What do you mean? Elena smiled, and for the first time since entering the chamber, she felt truly calm. You have spent so much time maintaining order that you have forgotten the power of chaos. You have become so comfortable with your control that you cannot imagine what happens when that control is challenged by something you cannot predict or contain. She gestured toward the crystal dome above them. You rule this galaxy through fear and tradition? You maintain your power because everyone accepts that this is how things must be. But what happens when someone stops accepting? What happens when someone proves that your way is not the only way? The chamber fell silent again, but this silence felt different, heavier, more uncertain. Elena continued, her voice now carrying across the vast space like a bell. You are exiling us because we ask uncomfortable questions. Because we help species you prefer to keep dependent. Because we grow when you demand we remain small. You hope that 30 years in the void will break us, teach us humility, force us to accept our proper place when we return. She shook her head slowly. But what if we do not return as humble supplicants? What if 30 years in the darkness teaches us things you never imagined? What if we come back not seeking forgiveness, but offering you the choice we never had? The hegemon's voice was quieter now. What choice? Elena's smile widened. The choice to join us willingly, or to learn the hard way that the galaxy has changed beyond your ability to control it. She turned and began walking toward the chamber's exit. 30 years, honored council? Count them carefully. As the great doors closed behind her, Elena heard the first sounds of argument beginning among the 12 species that ruled the galaxy. For the first time in 10,000 years, they were no longer certain they had made the right choice. Elena walked through the corridors of Nexus Station with steady steps, her mind already turning to the massive task ahead. 47 worlds to evacuate, 3 billion people to transport across impossible distances, an entire civilization to rebuild in the hostile depths of space. But humans had done impossible things before. They had survived ice ages and plagues. They had built cities in deserts and sent ships across empty oceans guided only by stars. They had reached for the sky when gravity said stay down, had split atoms when physics said it could not be done. Now they would learn what lay beyond the edge of everything known. As Elena reached her transport, she looked back once at the crystal spires of Nexus Station. Beautiful and ancient, a symbol of order that had lasted longer than human civilization. But even the strongest crystal could shatter if struck in just the right place. She boarded her ship and began composing the message that would change everything. The first words of humanity's exodus into darkness. The beginning of their transformation into something the galaxy had never seen before. The Council had given them 30 years in exile. Elena wondered if 30 years would be enough. Admiral Chen Zhao stood on the bridge of the massive transport ship Odyssey Dawn, watching through the viewport as New Terra grew smaller in the distance. The planet had been humanity's proudest colony, a world of green fields and blue oceans that reminded everyone of Earth. Now it was just another light in the darkness, soon to be lost forever. Final transport is away from the surface, reported Commander Sarah Kim, her voice tight with controlled emotion. Evacuation of New Terra is complete. Chun nodded without taking his eyes from the viewport. How many? 800,000 souls aboard 17 ships, Kim replied. We managed to save the seed banks, the cultural archives, and most of the industrial equipment. Chun's jaw tightened. 800,000 people forced to abandon the only home many of them had ever known. This was the 23rd world they had evacuated in the past 5 years. 24 more to go. Set course for the rendezvous point, Chin ordered. The other fleets will be waiting. As the Odyssey Dawn turned away from New Terra, Chen thought about the message Elena Vasquez had sent to every human world 3 years ago. Her words still echoed in his mind. We are leaving, but we are not surrendering. Pack everything that matters. We will need it all. Most people had focused on the evacuation orders, the transport schedules, the million details of moving an entire civilization. But Jin had heard something else in Elena's words, a plan, a purpose beyond simple survival. The journey to the Outer Rim took 6 weeks. During that time, Chun watched his people adapt to ship life with the same stubborn determination that had carried humanity to the stars. Children who had played in real grass learned to run through metal corridors. Farmers who had worked soil under open sky began growing food in hydroponic gardens under artificial lights. Teachers held classes in cargo bays, keeping hope alive. Through education. Dr. Sarah Okafor was one of those teachers, though her students were not children. The tall woman with intricate braids gathered the colony's best scientists in the Odyssey Dawn's converted laboratory every day. Today she stood before a group of 30 researchers, their faces lit by the glow of portable computers. "The Council believes they are sending us to die," Sarah said, her voice calm and confident. "They think the void between is empty space where nothing can survive. They are wrong." She activated a holographic display showing star charts of the region beyond the galactic rim. "Look at these energy readings. Strange particles that follow no known physics. Spatial distortions that suggest folded spacetime. This is not empty void. This is something we have never encountered before." Dr. Marcus Webb, a physicist from New Terra, raised his hand. "But Sarah, our ships barely function properly in those fields. The navigation computers fail. Even our basic life support systems struggle." "Exactly," Sarah smiled. "Our current technology fails because it was designed for normal space. But what if we could develop new technology designed specifically for the void? What if the very forces that make the region hostile could be turned into advantages?" Another scientist, Dr. Lisa Chun, leaned forward. "You're talking about completely rewriting our understanding of physics. That could take decades." "We have 30 years," Sarah replied. "And we have something the Galactic Council does not expect us to have, desperation paired with ingenuity. History shows that humans do their best work when survival depends on innovation." She gestured to the star charts again. "The Council sees the void as a prison. I see it as a laboratory. A place where we can experiment with technologies too dangerous to test near inhabited worlds. A space where we can grow without interference." Meanwhile, on a transport ship called Freedom's Hope, 8-year-old Tommy Martinez sat with his grandmother in what had once been a storage compartment. The small space now housed 6 families, their possessions reduced to whatever could fit in regulation travel cases. "Grandma Rosa, will we ever go home?" Tommy asked, looking up at the woman who had raised him since his parents died in a mining accident. Rosa Martinez smoothed the boy's dark hair with weathered hands. "This ship is our home now, Mio. Home is not a place. Home is the people who love you, but I miss my room. I miss playing outside. I miss the smell of rain." Rosa was quiet for a moment, remembering her own childhood on Earth, then her young adult years on New Terra, 2 homes lost in one lifetime. But she had lived through enough to know that endings could become beginnings. "Let me tell you a story," she said. "A long time ago, my great-grandmother left everything she knew to travel across an ocean to a new land. She was scared, just like..." "Yes, but she carried something more important than possessions." "What did she carry?" "Hope, the knowledge that her children would have better lives than she did, that they would build something beautiful in the new place." Tommy looked around the cramped compartment. "This does not look very beautiful," Rosa laughed softly. "Not yet, but we are like seeds, Mio. Seeds look small and dead when you plant them, but give them time, water, and care, and they grow into something amazing." While families like the Martinez struggled with displacement and loss, other humans were already working on Elena's secret plan. Captain Maria Santos commanded a small stealth ship called Ghost Runner, one of 50 vessels that had quietly separated from the main evacuation fleets. "Approaching coordinates 77 Alpha," reported her navigator, Lieutenant James Park. "No Council ships in sensor range." Maria studied the readouts from her ship's passive sensors. They were deep in Council space, technically violating the Exile order, but the risk was necessary. Begin deployment of Package 1. The Ghost Runner's cargo bay opened, releasing what looked like a small asteroid into space. But the rock was hollow, filled with automated manufacturing equipment, quantum computers, and enough supplies to operate for decades. To any scanner, it would appear to be debris. In reality, it was humanity's first hidden base in Council territory. Package deployed successfully, Park reported. Activating stealth mode. The fake asteroid drifted into the shadow of a real moon, invisible to casual observation. Inside its metal shell, machines began the slow process of building a secret facility. This was the first of hundreds of such bases that would be scattered throughout the galaxy over the next decade. Hidden eyes and ears that would watch the Council worlds and gather intelligence for humanity's eventual return. Maria felt a mixture of excitement and fear as the Ghost Runner slipped away undetected. If they were caught, the consequences would be severe, but if they succeeded, humanity would have advantages the Council could never imagine. Years passed. The great exodus continued as transport fleets moved like a slow river of lights toward the edge of known space. By the 10th year, 45 of 47 human worlds had been evacuated. Only Earth and the industrial world of New Pittsburgh remained. On Earth, President Jennifer Walsh stood in her office overlooking the sprawling city of Geneva. The planet that had given birth to humanity was now nearly empty. Most of its 12 billion people had already left for the outer rim, taking with them the accumulated knowledge and culture of their species. The last civilian transports depart tomorrow, reported her aide, David Kumar. Military evacuation begins next week. Jennifer nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Any word from the scout ships? Preliminary reports from the advance teams are ... interesting. Admiral Chun says the void is even stranger than our models predicted. But he also says it might be exactly what we need. Jennifer turned from the window. Meaning? David consulted his tablet. The energy fields that disrupt our technology also hide us from long-range sensors. The spatial distortions that make navigation difficult could theoretically be used for faster-than-light travel if we can learn to control them. And there are resources out there unlike anything in normal space. Resources the Council knows nothing about, Jennifer mused. Exactly. Dr. O'Coffer's teams think we might be able to develop entirely new technologies using void-based materials and energy sources, things that would give us significant advantages if we ever return to Council space. Jennifer walked to her desk and picked up a small object, a piece of marble from the ruins of the ancient Parthenon. She had carried it with her since childhood, a reminder that even the greatest civilizations could fall, but their ideas could survive. Have the historical archives been fully transferred? Yes, ma'am. Every book, every piece of art, every scientific paper, every cultural recording. If humanity survives this exile, we will remember who we were. Jennifer set down the marble and looked at David. When we survive this exile, David, when, not if, and when we return, the galaxy will discover that trying to destroy us only made us stronger. The final evacuation of Earth began 3 weeks later. Jennifer Walsh was among the last to leave, standing in the empty presidential office as her security team waited impatiently. Ma'am, we really need to go, urged Captain Rodriguez. The transport window is closing. Jennifer took one last look around the room where so many crucial decisions had been made. Then she picked up the piece of marble and walked toward the door. Ready, Captain. Let's go build a new world. As Earth fell behind them, Jennifer's transport joined the tail end of humanity's great migration. 3 billion people in thousands of ships, carrying everything they could save from 47 worlds. Children born in space who would grow. Up in the void, scientists working on theories that could reshape physics. Soldiers training for wars that might not come for decades, but perhaps most importantly, they carried Elena Vasquez's promise. The Council had exiled humanity expecting them to wither and die in the darkness. Instead, they were about to discover what happened when you gave the most adaptable species in the galaxy both motivation and privacy. The first transport ships reached the edge of the void between in the 15th year of Exile. What they found there would have terrified the Galactic Council if they had known. Strange energies that responded to human will in ways that defied explanation. Particles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Regions of space where time moved differently. Allowing years of work to be compressed into months, Admiral Chun established the first permanent settlement on a rogue planet drifting in the deep void. They called it Haven, and within months it housed 1 million people. But Haven was just the beginning. As more ships arrived, more settlements were built, not just on planets but in space itself, using technologies developed specifically for the void's unique properties. Dr. Sarah Okafor made the first breakthrough in the 20th year, working in a laboratory built inside a spatial distortion field. She discovered how to harness void energy for faster-than-light travel without using traditional jump drives. Her ships could slip between dimensions, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. By the 25th year, humanity had not just survived in the void between, they had thrived. Children born in the strange energies of deep space showed abilities that normal humans did not possess. They could sense spatial distortions instinctively, navigate by feel through regions where instruments failed, and somehow remain healthy in environments that should have been lethal. President Walsh, now an old woman, stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, humanity's capital in exile. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see dozens of ships moving through space in patterns that would have been impossible anywhere else in the galaxy. "The Council expects us to return in 5 years as broken supplicants," she said, to Admiral Chun, who had grown gray in service to his people. "Begging for mercy and promising to accept whatever scraps they offer us." Chun smiled grimly. "They are going to be very surprised." Walsh nodded, thinking of Elena Vasquez's final message before the old ambassador had died 3 years earlier. "Remember," Elena had said, "they did not exile us to punish us. They exiled us because they feared what we might become. It is time to show them their fears were justified." As the 28th year of exile began, humanity was no longer the same species that had been driven from the galaxy. They had become something new, something adapted to conditions no other species could survive. They had built a civilization in the darkness that operated on principles the Galactic Council could not comprehend. And soon, very soon, it would be time to go home. Captain Marcus Rivera had never seen normal space. Born in the 21st year of exile aboard the colony ship New Horizon, he had grown up breathing recycled air under artificial lights, learning to walk in the strange gravity fields that existed between dimensions. Now, at 26 years old, he commanded the UES Phantom Strike, a ship that could exist in 3 different phases of reality at the same time. Marcus stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display show impossible things. His ship was currently phased halfway between normal space and the void dimension, invisible to conventional sensors but able to observe everything around them. Through the viewport, space looked wrong in ways that would drive normal humans insane. Stars existed as spirals of light that bent through angles that should not exist. Reality itself seemed to breathe. "Contact bearing 27 Mark 15, reported Lieutenant Amy Jo, his sensor officer. Like Marcus, she had been born in the void and could navigate by instincts that older humans found disturbing. "Configuration matches Galactic Council scout vessel." Marcus smiled coldly. This was the 3rd Council ship to enter the void in the past month. The galactic powers were finally getting curious about what had happened to humanity. Range? 40,000 kilometers in closing. "They are scanning for signs of human habitation." "Let them scan," Marcus said. "Helm, bring us to full phase. I want to give them something interesting to look at." The Phantom Strike shifted deeper into the void dimension. To the Council ship's sensors, it would appear as if the vessel had simply vanished from existence. But Marcus could still see everything, still track every movement of the enemy vessel. The Council ship was a sleek Nexari design, built for deep space exploration. Marcus had studied the technical specifications during his academy training at New Geneva Station. Fast, well-armed, and equipped with the best sensors the Council could build. Unfortunately for them, their technology was designed for normal space. "Sir, they are launching probe drones," Joe reported. "Standard search pattern. They are looking for debris fields or abandoned colonies." Marcus activated the ship's communication system. "All stations, prepare for Contact Protocol 7. We are going to give our visitors a proper welcome." The Phantom Strike began to phase back toward normal space, but not completely. Marcus had learned to surf the boundary between dimensions, existing just enough in each reality to use the advantages of both. It was a skill that only void-born humans seemed able to master. "Contact the other ships in our patrol group," Marcus ordered. "Tell them to maintain Phase 7 and converge on our position. Time for a demonstration." 3 more human vessels shimmered into partial existence around the Council ship. The Wraith Runner, commanded by Captain Lisa Park, the Shadow Walker, under Captain David Kim, the Void Dancer, led by Captain Sarah Chun, all of them void-born. All of them commanding ships that operated on principles the Galactic Council had. Never imagined. Inside the Nexari scout ship, alarms began screaming. Captain Zektar, a veteran explorer with 50 years of deep space experience, stared at his sensor displays in disbelief. 4 ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding his vessel in a perfect formation. "Impossible," Zektar hissed through his translator. "No ships can hide from our sensors at this range." His communications officer, a younger Nexari named Viltar, worked frantically at his console. "Sir, I am receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. Audio only. Put it through." Marcus Rivera's voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect galactic standard with just a hint of amusement. "Nexari vessel. This is Captain Rivera of the United Earthship Phantom Strike. You are trespassing in sovereign territory." Zektar's 4 eyes narrowed. "Human, you are in violation of the Exile decree. Your species was ordered to remain beyond the galactic rim." "We are beyond the rim," Marcus replied. "This is our space now. You are the ones who do not belong here. The void between belongs to no one. It is empty space, worthless and uninhabitable." Marcus laughed, and the sound sent chills through the Nexari crew. "Empty? Captain Zektar, you clearly have not been paying attention. Would you like a tour?" Before Zektar could respond, the human ships began to move in patterns that violated everything he knew about physics. They flickered in and out of existence, appearing at different locations without crossing the space between. One vessel seemed to split into 3 copies of itself before merging back into one. "What are you?" Zektar whispered. "We are what you made us," Marcus answered. "When you drove us into the darkness, you expected us to die. Instead, we learned to live in places where life should be impossible. We became something new." The Phantom Strike moved closer to the Nexari vessel, and Zektar could see it more clearly through his viewports. The ship looked wrong. Its hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating optical illusions that hurt to look at directly. Strange energies crackled along its surface, energies that followed no known scientific principles. "Your ship," Zektar said. "How does it function?" "Void technology," Marcus explained. "We learned to harness the energies that exist between realities. Our ships do not fight against the strange physics of this region, they embrace it." Suddenly, new contacts appeared on the Nexari sensors, dozens of them, then hundreds. Ships of every size and configuration, from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts, all phasing into partial visibility around the Council vessel. "Behold the Phantom Fleet," Marcus said. "One of 7 such fleets that patrol our territory. We have grown quite numerous in our exile, Captain Zektar." The Nexari captain stared at the displays showing more ships than his entire exploration. "Fleet contained. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated human extinction within the first decade." "Your intelligence was wrong. We did not die in the void, Captain. We evolved." At that moment, something else appeared on the Nexari sensors. Something that made Zektar's blood run cold. A massive space station, easily 10 kilometers across, shimmering into existence like a mirage becoming real. "Welcome to Gateway Station," Marcus said, "one of our smaller outposts. Would you like to meet some of our friends?" The space station bristled with weapons that looked nothing like standard galactic designs. But more disturbing were the other ships docked at its ports. Sleek vessels with hull configurations that belonged to no known galactic species. "Those ships," Zektar said slowly. "They are not human. No, they are not. Captain Zektar, meet the Forgotten. Races that your precious council exiled long before they ever heard of humanity. We found them here in the void, and they found us. Turns out we have quite a lot in common." A new voice joined the communication channel, speaking in harmonics that no known species used. The translation came through in perfect galactic standard. "Greetings, Council Representative. I am Harmony of the Deep Void of the Ethereal Collective. We have been waiting a very long time for this moment." Zektaris translator struggled with the alien speech patterns. "Ethereal Collective? That designation does not exist in our records." "Because you destroyed our records," the alien voice replied, and now it carried undertones of ancient anger. "Just as you destroyed the records of the Quantum Singers, the Starshapers, and dozens of other species you deemed too dangerous to exist in your ordered galaxy." Marcus Rivera's voice returned. "The void between is not empty, Captain Zektar. It is full of everyone your council has tried to erase from history. Turns out that when you exile entire civilizations, they tend to find each other." More ships appeared. Vessels with crystalline hulls that bent light in impossible ways. Living ships that pulsed with organic energy, machines that existed partially outside normal time. Each design was completely alien, representing technologies that the current Galactic Council had never encountered. "How many?" Zektar asked weakly. "How many species? How many ships? How many people?" Marcus chuckled. "Enough, Captain. More than enough." An elderly human woman appeared on the Nexari view screen. Her hair was silver white, her skin marked by age, but her eyes burned with fierce intelligence. "Captain Zektar, I am Admiral Elena Vasquez, Supreme Commander of the Alliance of the Exiled. Yes, I am still alive. Void energies have interesting effects on human aging." Zektar remembered that name from his briefings. The ambassador who had defied the council 30 years ago. "You should be dead?" "I should be many things," Elena replied. "But I am here, and so are 3 billion humans who have spent 30 years learning to thrive in conditions that would kill your people in minutes. Along with our friends, we represent the largest military force in galactic history." "What do you want?" Zektar asked. "Justice," Elena said simply. "For 30 years we have built a new civilization based on cooperation instead of domination. Species helping each other instead of maintaining rigid hierarchies. We have proven that your way is not the only way." She gestured toward the assembled fleet. "Every ship you see represents a choice, Captain. We could have used our new technologies to wage war on the galaxy. We could have returned as conquerors, taking by force what was denied to us by law. Instead, we chose to wait. Wait for what? For you to come to us. For the Council to send scouts to see what became of the humans they tried to eliminate. Now you have seen. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge?" Zektar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. They were outnumbered by impossible odds, surrounded by technologies they did not understand. Faced with evidence that everything they believed about galactic order was wrong. "I must report this to the Council," he said. "Must you?" Marcus Rivera asked, "Your ship's communication array has been experiencing technical difficulties since you entered our space." "Very unfortunate. It may take months to repair." Zektar checked his communications board. "Dead, completely dead." "You are holding us prisoner. We are offering you a choice," Elena said. "Return to the Council with news of our existence, and they will respond with fear and violence. They will mobilize their fleets and march against us, believing they can crush what they failed to destroy the first time." She paused, letting that sink in. "Or you could stay. Learn about what we have built here." See for yourself that we are not the monsters your council believes us to be. Become an ambassador instead of a spy. And if I refuse? Elena's expression did not change. Then you will be returned to council space with your ship's memory banks intact but empty. You will remember entering the void between, and you will remember leaving it. Everything in between will be gone. That is impossible. Captain Zektar, you have seen our ships exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. You have witnessed us appear and disappear at will. You have met species that your council claims never existed. At this point, what do you consider impossible? Zektar was quiet for a long moment, studying the alien fleet surrounding his vessel. Hundreds of ships representing technologies beyond his comprehension, commanded by species that should have been extinct, led by humans who should have died decades ago. If I stay, he said slowly, what would you show me? Everything, Elena replied. Our cities built in the spaces between stars. Our factories that turn void energy into matter. Our schools where human children learn alongside beings your council has tried to erase from history. Our laboratories where we develop technologies that could revolutionize the galaxy. Marcus Rivera added, you would see what happens when cooperation replaces competition. When different species work together instead of maintaining artificial barriers. When progress is driven by curiosity instead of controlled by fear. And when you return to the galaxy. Zektar asked. Elena smiled, and for the first time it was not entirely pleasant. When we return, Captain, the Council will face the same choice we are offering you. Join us willingly, or learn that their age of domination is over. The Nexari captain looked at his crew, then at the impossible fleet surrounding his ship. How long do I have to decide? Take all the time you need, Elena said. Time moves differently here. We have learned to be patient. As Zektar considered his options, he did not know that his was not the first council ship to enter the void in recent years. 17 other vessels had made the same journey. Some had returned empty-handed, their crews reporting nothing but empty space and navigational hazards. Others had never returned at all. The few that had encountered humanity's forces faced the same choice now offered to Zektar. Most had chosen to stay, becoming the first non-human members of what Elena called the Alliance of the Exiled, but a few had returned to council space, their memories carefully edited, carrying reports that the void between remained empty and lifeless. The council continued to believe that the human problem had solved itself through natural extinction. They would continue believing that until the day Elena Vasquez decided it was time to remind the galaxy that humanity was very much alive and growing stronger every day. The Nexari hegemon sat in his crystal throne, watching the holographic displays that showed the heart of galactic civilization. From his palace on the capital world of Nexus Prime, he could observe the activities of 1,000 worlds, track the movements of merchant fleets, and monitor the communications of billions of beings across the galaxy for the past 5 years. Those displays had been showing disturbing patterns, ships vanishing without trace, entire space stations going silent, mining operations in remote systems simply disappearing, leaving behind empty space where thriving facilities had existed for decades. Status report, the hegemon commanded, his metallic voice echoing through the throne chamber. His aide, a nervous Altarian named Crystal Song of Worry, shimmered with anxious colors as she consulted her data tablet. 17 more incidents. This month, your dominance? The pattern continues to spread inward from the Rim territories. Theories? The military council believes it may be organized piracy. Perhaps one of the younger species has developed new stealth technology. The hegemon's red eyes dimmed with displeasure. Impossible. No younger species possesses technology we cannot detect. Our sensor networks cover every system in the galaxy. Crystal Song of Worry's colors shifted to deeper blues of uncertainty. There is another possibility, your dominance. Admiral Blackclaw of Victory suggests these incidents may be connected to the human exile. The humans are extinct, the hegemon said firmly. Our scout reports confirmed this years ago. The void between consumed them as we predicted. Yes, your dominance, but the timeline is concerning. The disappearances began approximately 2 years ago, exactly 28 years after the Exile decree. The hegemon was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Coincidence. The humans were a young species with primitive technology. Even if some survived, they lacked the capability to threaten galactic shipping. An alert chime interrupted their conversation. Crystal Song of Worry checked her tablet, and her crystalline form flashed brilliant red with alarm. Your dominance. Emergency transmission from the council chambers. All 12 representatives are requested immediately. The hegemon rose from his throne, his massive spider-like form unfolding to its full height. Nature of the emergency? Unknown. Your dominance. The message simply states, Priority Omega, immediate assembly required. Within an hour, all 12 members of the Galactic Council had gathered in the same crystal chamber, where they had pronounced humanity's exile 30 years earlier. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the nervous energy of beings who had grown comfortable with absolute power, suddenly facing the unknown. The Volder representative spoke first, its tentacles writhing with agitation. The disappearances are accelerating. In the past week, we have lost contact with 3 major industrial systems. Not just lost contact, added the Korthic delegate, its scales shifting to warning colors. The systems have been completely stripped. Every ship, every station, every piece of infrastructure simply gone. The Zephyrian Council members' mental voice cut through their thoughts, colder than usual. We have also detected unusual energy signatures near several of the affected systems, readings that match no known technology in our databases. The hegemon settled into his seat, his red eyes scanning his fellow council members. You suspect the humans. We know it is the humans, said a new voice. Every head turned toward the chamber's entrance. Walking through the massive doors came a figure that should have been impossible. Elena Vasquez, now appearing to be in her 40s despite being well, over 90 years old, strode into the chamber wearing a uniform that seemed to absorb light itself. She was not alone. Behind her walked representatives of a dozen species, some familiar from ancient records, others completely unknown. They moved with confidence through a chamber designed to intimidate, their eyes showing no fear of the beings who had once ruled their fates. Impossible, the hegemon whispered. You are dead. All of you are dead. Elena smiled as she took her position in the center of the chamber, exactly where she had stood 30 years before. Death, honored hegemon, is a matter of perspective. We have simply been ... elsewhere. The Altarian representative chimed in harmonic discord. The Exile decree specifically forbade your return to galactic space. And we are not violating that decree, Elena replied calmly. We remain citizens of the void between. This is merely a diplomatic visit. One of the beings with Elena stepped forward. It appeared to be made of living energy, constantly shifting between states of matter. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I am Starsinger in the Deep, representative of the ethereal collective. We were the first species you exiled over 8,000 years ago. We have been waiting a very long time for this conversation. The Korthic delegate hissed in recognition. The ethereals, but you were eliminated, completely destroyed. Exiled, Starsinger corrected, like the quantum shapers, like the time dancers, like the dream weavers, like dozens of other species over the millennia. We were not destroyed. We were sent to the void between, where we learned to survive in conditions you believed were impossible. Elena gestured to the assembled representatives. Meet the alliance of the exiled. Every species your council has tried to erase from history over the past 10,000 years. It turns out that when you throw away your problems, they sometimes find each other. The Zephyrian's mental voice was sharp with fear. What do you want? Justice, Elena said simply. For 10,000 years, this council has maintained power, through fear and exclusion. Any species that grew too quickly, questioned too loudly, or developed in ways you found uncomfortable was labeled dangerous and removed. She began walking around the chamber, her voice carrying clearly to every corner. You told yourselves it was for galactic stability, for the greater good. You convinced yourselves that exile was mercy compared to extermination. It was mercy, the hegemon protested. We could have destroyed you all. Elena stopped walking and fixed him with a stare that made the ancient being uncomfortable. Could you, really? Or did you exile us because deep down you knew that direct conflict might not go as easily as you assumed? A new figure materialized in the chamber, seeming to step out of empty air itself. Captain Marcus Rivera, now wearing the insignia of a fleet admiral, appeared beside Elena with the casual ease of someone who had mastered technologies beyond galactic understanding. Admiral Rivera, Elena said by way of introduction. Born in exile, raised in the void, commander of our Phantom fleets. Would you care to share our current capabilities? Marcus activated a small device on his wrist. Instantly, the chamber's crystal walls became transparent, revealing the space around Nexus Prime. The council members gasped in shock at what they saw. Ships, thousands upon thousands of ships, surrounding the capital world in perfect formation. But these were not the primitive vessels the council remembered from 30 years ago. These ships seemed to exist partially outside normal space, their hulls shimmering with energies that hurt to look at directly. The First Armada, Marcus said conversationally. One of 7 such fleets currently positioned around key council worlds. We have been watching you for some time. The Volta representative's patterns flashed in panic. Our sensors show nothing. How are you hiding so many ships? We are not hiding, Marcus replied. We are simply existing in dimensional phases your technology cannot detect. We learned many things in the void between. Elena continued her circuit of the chamber. Your disappearing ships and stations, we have been relocating them. The crews are safe and well cared for in our dimensional facilities. The equipment and resources are being redistributed to species you have kept in artificial poverty. That is theft, the Altarian chimed angrily. Is it? Elena asked. When you exile entire civilizations, do they not have the right to reclaim what was taken from them? When you deny younger species the resources to develop, are they not justified in seeking those resources elsewhere? Starsinger in the deep moved closer to the council seats, its energy form crackling with barely contained power. For 8,000 years we have watched you hoard technology and knowledge. You speak of maintaining order, but you have created a galaxy of artificial scarcity and enforced ignorance. The council maintains stability, the hegemon insisted. But his voice lacked its usual confidence. The council maintains control, Elena corrected. There is a difference. Stability comes from cooperation and growth. Control comes from fear and limitation. Marcus activated his device again. This time, the display showed star charts of the entire galaxy. Dozens of systems were highlighted in blue, indicating human and Alliance presence. We have been very busy during our exile, he said. Those hidden bases we established before our departure? They have been active for 30 years, gathering intelligence, making contact with oppressed species, and preparing infrastructure for our return. Elena gestured to the display. Every blue dot represents a system where the local population has chosen to join our alliance. Species that were being held back by council restrictions have embraced the opportunity to develop freely. You are fomenting rebellion, the Korthek delegate accused. We are offering choice, Elena replied. Something your council has never done. We arrive at a world and make a simple proposal, continue under council rule with its limitations and restrictions, or join our alliance and receive access to technologies and resources that could transform your civilization. Starsinger added, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. It seems most species prefer freedom to security. The Zephyrian's mental voice was filled with rage. You cannot simply overturn 10,000 years of galactic order. We are not overturning anything, Elena said. We are offering an alternative. Competition, if you will. Let the species of the galaxy choose for themselves which system they prefer. The hegemon's red eyes flared brighter. And if we refuse to allow this competition? Elena's smile became dangerous. Then you will discover why we spent 30 years preparing for this moment instead of simply attacking when we first developed the capability. Marcus gestured to his wrist device again. The display shifted to show massive installations in deep space, structures that dwarfed even the Council's largest space stations. Void-forged stations, he explained. We can manufacture anything we need using dimensional energy. Our industrial capacity now exceeds that of the entire Galactic Council by a factor of 10. Another gesture showed fleets of ships unlike anything in Council databases. Our military technology operates on principles your scientists cannot comprehend. We do not fight your kind of war. What kind of war do you fight? The Volter asked fearfully. Elena answered, the kind where your weapons simply stop working, where your ships find themselves transported to locations of our choosing, where your communications networks suddenly start broadcasting our messages instead of yours. She paused, letting that sink in. We have had 30 years to study Council technology and develop countermeasures. Your entire military infrastructure is based on principles we now consider obsolete. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of crystal harmonics and the nervous sounds of various alien physiologies under stress. What are your terms? The hegemon asked finally. Elena's expression softened slightly. Dissolution of the Galactic Council as a governing body. Establishment of a new democratic federation where all species have equal representation regardless of age or technological development. Open sharing of scientific knowledge and resources. An amnesty for all species currently in exile. Impossible, the Altarian chimed. Such changes would destabilize everything we have built. Everything you have built is already destabilized, Elena pointed out. The question is whether the transition happens peacefully or violently. Marcus checked a display on his wrist. Admiral, we have reports of Council fleets mobilizing in 17 systems, Elena nodded. Expected. Honored Council members, you have 48 hours to consider our terms. After that, we will assume you have chosen the path of resistance. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and do not waste time trying to mobilize your secret weapons or contingency fleets. We have been monitoring your activities for decades. Every military asset you possess is already under our observation. As Elena and her representatives walked toward the chamber exit, the hegemon called after them. You are making a mistake, human. We have resources and allies you cannot imagine. Elena stopped and looked back over her shoulder. Your dominance. We are those resources and allies. Everyone you ever exiled, everyone you ever oppressed, everyone you ever told they were not good enough to participate in galactic civilization. We are all here, and we are united. This is war, the hegemon declared. Elena's final words echoed through the chamber as she disappeared. No, your dominance. This is evolution. As the chamber doors closed behind the Alliance representatives, the 12 council members sat in stunned silence. Outside their crystal walls, thousands of impossible ships waited in the darkness, carrying technologies that defied everything they thought they knew about the universe. The age of the Galactic Council was ending. The age of the Alliance of the Exiled had begun. Admiral Chen Zhao, now in his 70s but still sharp as a blade, stood on the command deck of the UES New Geneva as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. 46 hours had passed since Elena's ultimatum to the Galactic Council. 2 hours remained before the deadline expired. Status from all sectors, Chun requested. His weathered hands clasped behind his back, Commander Sarah Kim, his longtime aide who had grown gray in service alongside him, consulted her displays. The Council has mobilized every fleet they possess. Conservative estimate, 1.2 million warships converging on 17 strategic positions. She nodded grimly. They chose the path of war. I had hoped they might show wisdom, but old habits die hard. Fleet Admiral Rivera reports the Phantom Armadas are in position at all 17 convergence points. Kim continued. The Ethereal Collective confirms their reality bender squadrons are ready. The Quantum Shapers have their probability alteration fields active. Chen turned to look out the viewport at the assembled might of the Alliance of the Exiled. Ships from 100 different species, representing technologies developed in isolation over thousands of years. Each vessel was a masterpiece of adaptive engineering, designed to survive in conditions that would destroy conventional spacecraft. And the Council worlds themselves? Admiral Vasquez reports that population centers on all 12 home worlds are being continuously monitored. Civilian evacuation protocols are standing by in case the Council attempts scorched earth tactics. Chun touched a control on his command chair. Open channel to all fleet commanders. The main display activated, showing dozens of faces, both human and alien. Marcus Rivera's youthful features appeared alongside Starsinger in the Deep's shifting energy. Form. Captain Maria Santos, now commanding a dimensional fortress, shared screen space with Harmony of the Void from the Ethereal Collective. Friends, Chen began, his voice carrying the authority of decades in command. In 2 hours, the Council's deadline expires. They have chosen to respond with force rather than negotiation. Are all units prepared for Operation Metamorphosis? A chorus of confirmations came back in dozens of languages, translated instantly by advanced AI systems developed in the void between. Marcus Rivera leaned forward. Admiral, the first Phantom Armada is tracking the largest Council fleet. 800,000 ships approaching the Nexus Prime system. They believe they can overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Let them believe that, Chun replied. Sometimes the most powerful lesson is learned through gentle demonstration rather than harsh punishment. Starsinger in the Deep's voice resonated across the communication channel. The Ethereal Collective has prepared probability cascades for all major engagement zones. Council weapons will find themselves unreliable, Chun nodded. Remember, our goal is not destruction, our goal is transformation. We want to prove that our way is better, not that we are stronger. At that moment, alerts began sounding across the New Geneva's bridge. Kim checked her sensors and looked up with surprise. Admiral, we have an incoming transmission. It's from the Nexari hegemon himself? Chun raised an eyebrow. Put it through. The command display shifted to show the Nexari hegemon in his crystal throne chamber. The ancient being looked older somehow. His red eyes dimmed with exhaustion. Admiral Chun, the hegemon said, his metallic voice carrying undertones of defeat. I wish to speak with Elena Vasquez. I am here, Your Dominance. Elena stepped into view of the camera, her appearance unchanged despite the passage of time. The void energies that sustained her had given her a timeless quality that made her age impossible to determine. The Council has reached a decision. The hegemon continued. We will mobilize our full military might to destroy your alliance. This cannot be allowed to continue. Elena's expression remained calm. That is your choice to make. But before you commit to this path, allow me to show you something. She gestured to someone off camera. The transmission split, showing both Elena and a tactical display of the galaxy. Observe, Elena said. Every blue dot represents a system that has voluntarily joined our alliance in the past 48 hours. Every red dot represents a system still under Council control. The hegemon stared at the display in growing horror. The galaxy was now more blue than red. Hundreds of worlds had declared their independence from Council rule and requested alliance protection. Impossible, the hegemon whispered. Those worlds have been loyal for millennia. Loyalty based on fear is not loyalty, Elena replied. When we offered them genuine choice, they chose freedom. The display zoomed in on specific systems. The mining worlds of the outer spiral have voted unanimously to join us. The agricultural colonies of the Centauri cluster have requested immediate alliance membership. Even the industrial core worlds of the inner ring are reconsidering their allegiances. You are using some form of mind control? The hegemon accused. Elena laughed. The only thing we offered was hope. Hope for advancement without restriction. Hope for growth without permission. Hope for futures determined by merit rather than birth. Marcus Rivera appeared on the transmission. Your Dominance, Perhaps you would like to see what your great fleet is facing. The display shifted to show the Council's massive armada approaching one of the convergence points. 800,000 ships in perfect formation, representing the accumulated military might of galactic civilization. Impressive, Marcus said. Our response? The view pulled back to reveal the space around the Council fleet. Where there had been empty void moments before, ships began phasing into visibility. Not hundreds or thousands, but hundreds of thousands. Ships that flickered between dimensions. Vessels that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. Craft that moved through space as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. The Phantom Armadas represent only a fraction of our military capability, Marcus explained. But numbers are not really the point. As the hegemon watched, something impossible happened to his great fleet. The Council ships simply stopped. They hung motionless in space, their engines still functioning but producing no movement, their weapons powered but unable to fire. Temporal stasis fields, Marcus said conversationally. A gift from the Time Dancers, one of the species you exiled 6,000 years ago. Your ships are now experiencing time at a rate of 1 second per hour. Your crews are perfectly safe. Just moving very, very slowly. The hegemon's red eyes flared with rage. Release them immediately. Certainly, Elena replied. As soon as you recall all Council fleets and agree to negotiations. This is not war, the hegemon protested. This is humiliation. This is mercy, Elena corrected. War would involve the destruction of your fleets. Humiliation would involve broadcasting images of your helplessness across the galaxy. This is simply a demonstration that your old methods no longer work. Starsinger in the Deep's voice joined the conversation. Honored Hegemon, the Ethereal Collective has a message for you. We have spent 8,000 years in exile, developing technologies that operate outside your understanding of reality. Every weapon system you possess, every defensive measure you have developed, every strategic doctrine you follow, we know them all because we helped create them. The energy being paused, its form shifting to brighter patterns. You exiled your greatest minds, your most innovative spirits, your most creative thinkers. Did you really believe that would make you stronger? Elena gestured again, and the display showed Council fleets and 16 other systems, all frozen in the same temporal stasis fields. 1.2 million ships, she said. The largest military force in galactic history. Completely neutralized without firing a single shot. The hegemon was quiet for a long moment, processing the scope of his defeat. What happens now? Now we do what we came to do, Elena replied. Transform the galaxy into something better than what it was. She activated another display, showing a detailed proposal document, the Alliance Charter, a new form of galactic government based on cooperation rather than domination. Every species gets representation proportional to their population, not their age or military strength. Scientific knowledge is shared freely. Resources are distributed based on need rather than political favor. The younger species will destroy everything, the hegemon protested weakly. The younger species will build everything, Elena corrected, including things you never imagined possible. Marcus Rivera added, we have already begun implementation in alliance systems. Agricultural output has increased by 300% using shared farming techniques. Industrial efficiency has doubled through technology transfers. Medical advances have eliminated 17 previously incurable diseases. Elena's expression softened slightly. Your dominance, the Council species are not our enemies. You are. Our teachers, our predecessors, the foundation upon which we build. We do not seek to destroy what you created. We seek to make it better. The hegemon looked around his throne chamber at the crystal walls that had symbolized unchanging power for millennia. And if we refuse to participate in this transformation, then you will be free to maintain your current systems within your own territory, Elena replied. But you will no longer be able to impose those systems on others. She gestured to the galactic display. The universe is vast, your dominance. There is room for multiple approaches to civilization. Our way is not the only way, but it is no longer going to be hidden or suppressed. At that moment, new figures appeared in the hegemon's throne chamber. The other 11 council members, looking defeated and uncertain. The Altarian representative's crystalline form was dim with resignation. The Volter delegate's tentacles hung limp with exhaustion. "We have been in emergency session," the Korthic representative said, its scales a dull gray of surrender. "The reports from our military commanders are disturbing. Our weapons do not function," the Zephyrian added, its mental voice heavy with bewilderment. "Our ships cannot move. Our communication systems broadcast your messages instead of ours." Elena nodded. "The transition can be as smooth or as difficult as you choose to make it, but the transition will happen." The Volter delegate spoke up. "What guarantees do we have that you will honor the terms you propose?" "The same guarantee you gave to the species you exiled," Elena replied. "None but our word. The difference is that our word has never been broken." Starsinger, the Deep, moved into view of the transmission. "The Alliance of the Exiled offers something the Council never has: genuine partnership. Our strength comes from diversity, not uniformity, from cooperation, not domination." The hegemon looked at his fellow council members, seeing in their alien faces the same exhaustion and defeat he felt in his own ancient bones. "If we agree to these terms," he said slowly, "what happens to us? To the Council? You become founding members of the new Galactic Federation," Elena replied. "Your experience and wisdom will be valued but not automatically deferred to. Your voices will be heard but not given automatic authority." Marcus Rivera added, "The Council worlds will retain full autonomy over their internal affairs. But you will no longer dictate policy for species that choose different paths." Elena stepped closer to the camera. "Your dominance. 30 years ago you exiled us because you feared what we might become. Today you have seen what we became. The question now is, what will you become?" The hegemon was quiet for a very long time. Around the galaxy, frozen fleets waited in temporal stasis. Billions of beings watched broadcasts of the historic negotiation. The future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. "I am tired," the hegemon said finally. "Tired of maintaining control through fear. Tired of making decisions for species I do not understand. Tired of pretending that our way is the only way." He looked directly at Elena through the transmission. "Perhaps it is time for something new." One by one, the other council members voiced their agreement. Not enthusiastic endorsement, but weary acceptance that their age of absolute power was ending. Elena smiled, and for the first time it was entirely warm and welcoming. "Then let us begin building the future together." 6 months later, Elena. Vasquez stood once again in the crystal chamber where humanity had been exiled 30 years before. But now the chamber was filled with representatives from over 300 species. The 12 ancient council seats had been replaced with a circular arrangement where no position held automatic precedence. The Galactic Federation's first assembly was about to begin. Young species sat beside ancient ones. Exiled civilizations shared space with former oppressors. The void-born humans worked alongside beings who had never left their home systems. Marcus Rivera, now the Federation's first elected military coordinator, approached Elena as she prepared for the opening ceremony. "Any regrets?" he asked. Elena looked around the transformed chamber, remembering the loneliness and defiance she had felt standing here 3 decades ago. Only that it took so long. Outside the station, ships from 100 different cultures moved in organized patterns, heading to systems that needed aid, carrying technology and hope to worlds that had waited centuries for the chance to grow. The age of exile was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And in the depths of the void between, where it all started, new explorers ventured into the darkness, no longer driven by desperation but by curiosity, carrying the banner of a galaxy united not by fear but by the endless human dream of something better.